at any given moment in your life, you are minutes, not hours away from completely replacing Netflix. Actually, no, upgrading Netflix. If you've been on the techie side of YouTube long enough, you have no doubt seen multiple videos on ditching every streaming service. And given how often Netflix and every other streaming service likes to hike up their prices, that's starting to seem more and more appealing by the day. But if you've ever clicked through any of these videos, there's a decent chance you got scared off by how complicated it all seems. The usual way to ditch all these services is by building some sort of computer, or maybe even buying an expensive and scary looking piece of hardware called a NAS, and using them to run a cool service called Plex. You get all those ducks in a row, and after lots of trial and error, bam! You're canceling every service, saving money, and never again worrying if your favorite show will leave streaming. Here's the thing though, at this point I've done this whole Plex thing a lot of times in a lot of different ways, and I'm here to tell you none of that is necessary. How's that possible? I bet you have a spare laptop collecting dust in a closet somewhere right about now. Maybe something from college, some other phase in your life. And believe it or not, that is all you need to get started. No fancy computer building or a NAS. So that's exactly what I want to prove to you today. I'm going to set up Plex using this old laptop I have laying around and show you how along the way. Now this isn't an outright tutorial, but I bet if this is all new to you, you're going to learn a lot anyway. Like I said, a lot of videos and discussions on Plex are centered around optimal setups with NASes or Linux or what have you. And to be clear, all those approaches are totally valid. They can be a lot more space and energy efficient among other things. But the actual minimum requirement we need today is just a computer. For our project today, I am brushing off an old friend that's been collecting dust in the closet for a while now. This ThinkPad is not very powerful, it doesn't have amazing specs, and it probably wouldn't even sell for $200 nowadays. Believe it or not though, it has the power for everything we need for what we're doing. Then there's the operating system. Again, you would get better stability if you went through the process of installing Linux. But let's be real, not everyone wants to perform 2 hours of Google no-jitsu to get something up and running. Thankfully, that too is unnecessary because a Plex server can absolutely run on your existing Windows install. And in fact, it runs like a charm. All that to say, you can literally just turn on your closet laptop and you are ready to get set up. That's 80% of the hassle gone. You don't need Linux or Docker or anything complicated. Now that that very rigorous phase 1 is complete, we're moving to phase 2, installing Plex. Thankfully, that bit is also super easy. Just one Google away and you're taken straight to a download page. Installation is super straightforward too. Just a bunch of pressing next over and over till you're done. Voila, we're in, baby. Let's start keeping a running counter of how much time I'm spending on this. Grabbing the laptop and turning it on took about 1 minute. The installation process took about 8 minutes, most of which was just waiting for the installer to do its thing. Now Plex is asking us to add media, and this is where the real action begins. If you're completely new to this whole Plex business, the way it works is pretty straightforward. You put TV and movie files on your computer by ripping disks you own or via other means. Then you tell Plex where those files are. It takes a look at the files and goes, this is Superman Homecoming, this is Breaking Bad, and it organizes them nicely in your Plex library. From there, any device you have, you can just sign into your Plex app and you're able to stream those files directly, just like Netflix, except it's even better. Netflix and other streaming services secretly reduce the quality of the video and audio, so they save on data. But since you're the one hosting the video, you can simply choose to stream it at full, uncompressed quality, the exact same quality you'd get from plopping a disc into a Blu-ray player and playing it from your TV. Trust me, you will end up with a superiority complex about how bad Netflix looks in comparison, and that'll be totally valid of you. Now, of course, if we're gonna get these files on our laptop, we have one big thing to consider: storage. Obviously, all these movies and TV shows take up storage space. The higher quality, the more they'll take. This laptop I'm using comes with 500 gigabytes of space, which, depending on how high quality the stuff you're loading up, could fit dozens of movies and a big chunk of TV shows at once. That already isn't half bad. You really could just live with that. But if you're wanting to be serious about the replacing Netflix thing, and you don't want to be deleting stuff to free up space, you'll want more storage than that. Wait a second though, we're using a laptop. Those don't really have expandable storage, so are we screwed? That's what I used to think before researching this video, but fear not, I wouldn't bring you all this way without an answer. It turns out there is a ready-made solution for us that can make this laptop almost as expandable as a giant desktop computer. Behold, drive bays. You can get bays like these on Amazon for super cheap. This one I got cost me about $55, and there are even cheaper options out there. With this one device, we gain access to a whole world of expansion. These support hard drives of almost any size, and while hard drive prices prices have gone up a bit lately thanks to the scourge, otherwise known as AI, you can still get a pretty crazy value out of this setup. For like $80, we can quadruple how much space we have to work with. Of course, the best part is, unlike paying monthly for streaming services, we buy a hard drive once and get use out of it for years on end. Some hard drives have a lifespan of, say, 10 years. So if you do the math, that's paying 66 cents a month to replace all your streaming services. Not bad. I, however, am a tech YouTuber, so I do get a bit of a shortcut since I just have spare drives laying around from previous PCs. So all we had to do was plop these two bad boys in with no tools necessary, plug it into the laptop, and boom, you're good to go. Well, okay, actually at first it didn't seem like it was working, but that's only because we needed to activate the drives in Windows. Once we did that, then boom, we were actually good to go. Setting up these drives took another 5 minutes, so we're up to 14 minutes of actual work. Setting up Plex like this sure is efficient, innit? But you know what else is efficient and fun? The TH80V2 Pro from today's sponsor, Epamaker. It's a keyboard that comes in the ideal, action-packed 75% size that has little Easter eggs hidden everywhere, like a knob you can remove if you don't like it. Yeah, you can swap it to something else, like another key. Who doesn't like a good knob though? Wait, that sounded wrong. In addition, these have fun RGB side strips on the sides with an extra light next to the escape key to give it that nice fun glow, along with a fully customizable screen on the bottom right, and it has one of the sneakiest and smartest placements for a dongle that I've ever seen. If you want to connect it wirelessly, just flip it over and the dongle is playing hide and seek under the feet. Whoa. For a keyboard in the standard 75% size, they've really elevated it. It comes in a super stealthy silent option with sea salt switches, or if you're feeling it, creamy jades. Ooh, creamy. But the cherry on top are the keycaps. They remind me of stained glass in a church. They're slightly translucent, so the RGB dances across them, putting on a nice light show. To top it all off, one of my favorite things about Epamaker is the value of their products. This entire board comes in at $78. Wait, what? Only $78? I could pay for this keyboard with money I'm saving by setting up this Plex server and canceling all my streaming services. I guess I should type on it now. To get the Epamaker TH80V2 Pro, check out the link in the description below. So we got Plex installed, we have storage to put the files, now we just need the files. And like I said before, from here you have two options. You can either grab a disk drive off of Amazon for pennies and digitize your whole physical library, or you can go sailing. Anyway, there are a lot of options out there. Most of them take no time at all. Just pressing a couple buttons, then after some time, the files are there, waiting for you to enjoy them. Depending on which route you go, getting those files could take you anywhere from 10 minutes of active work or 30 minutes if you're working through ripping a bunch of Blu-rays. When you do get the files collected and point Plex to where they are, it gets to work. Look how beautiful this is. It's doing so much work for me. Organizing my movies, adding descriptions and thumbnails, categorizing things. And if, down the line, you decide to add more shows or more movies, you just plop those files in the same place you already pointed Plex to, and it does all this again automatically. No extra effort required. Plex is pretty darn good at scanning your files and figuring out what's what itself, but it does get confused sometimes, and there were a few movies it didn't find or add automatically. Now, my first desire was to panic, but I decided not to be a baby and check out Plex's troubleshooting page. As it turns out, the way to fix this sort of thing is pretty simple. You just need to organize the files into folders. There's a nice guide on how to name the folders, and once I followed it for the missing movies, everything was golden. Honestly, you don't have to do this every time. Without doing the folder structure thing, Plex automatically figured out 95% of the shows and movies I loaded up. So really, I could have just done this for the ones it didn't find. With maybe 10 extra minutes of troubleshooting out of the way, I am now staring at this beautiful library of shows and movies I care about at maximum possible quality, and they're all mine forever. No monthly fees. The best part is, with this little configuration done, everything is already able to stream in our place. I did no extra setup from this point. I walked straight into the living room, signed into Plex, and there they were, working like a charm. So far, despite all this not being optimal by any traditional definition, everything I've thrown at it has run like a charm too. I loaded up the highest quality, largest file size 4K Blu-ray movie I had, and it streamed like a dream. Maybe it would load a second or two faster on a stronger computer or faster hard drives, but at that point, point, it almost feels like we were splitting hairs. As fantastic as this is, there is one final hurdle we must overcome for any of this to be worth it: remote access. Right now, everything works within our personal network. While I'm connected in our Wi-Fi, I can stream all the Plex stuff from my phone, my TV, anything with the Plex app, which is a lot of devices. But the second I leave this place and say go on vacation or try to watch something at the DMV or anywhere else, I'm out of luck. That obviously cannot stay that way. Otherwise, this is a pretty crazy downgrade from Netflix. The good news is Plex does support remote access at full quality. The bad news is setting this up will either be the easiest part of this whole experience or the hardest part. It'll really make or break our whole minutes, not hours claim. Without getting too technical, your router basically has to know which computer your Plex is on, so people outside the network can access it. Some routers out of the box support something called UPnP, which intelligently does all this for you. If you're one of those people, this entire process can be summarized as press the button and you're done. However, if you aren't so lucky, you're going to have to strap on some nerd glasses for a tiny second and change a setting in your router. But don't freak out. I promise, for the vast majority of people, even this really is a breeze. All you really have to do is Google the default address for your router's brand, type that into your browser's address bar, and you're in. At worst, there might be a sign-in page, and you'll have to Google what the default username and password for your router is. From there, you can either go find the UPnP setting in your router and turn it on, or if your router doesn't support that setting, go to the port forwarding page and set up a port forward, which is sort of like the manual version of UPnP. Again, I know that sounds scary, but look how easy it is. You just select your Plex computer, type in the number, and press save. All done. As long as you were able to figure one of those out, all this can be as quick as a 5-minute process, even less if you're used to doing router stuff. And once you're done, you have access to your Plex anywhere, anytime. Take that, Netflix. There is one final unfortunate catch though. By default, in order to watch your media remotely, Plex requires a $1.50 a month subscription to their remote watch pass, which, I won't lie, feels pretty silly. I'm hosting my own files, dang it. I'm doing the heavy lifting. But I do get it to an extent. Something has to pay for Plex's employees working on new features, coding security patches, and so on. Better this than built-in ads though. Thankfully, there is one solution we can take to avoid this monthly payment. Multiple times a year, Plex offers a lifetime Plex pass for $100. Sure, that's a pretty decent chunk of money, but for me personally, I'd rather pay once than pay monthly. Now, behold, I'm watching my movies outside or anywhere I want. I have literally watched TV shows on my Plex from all across the country, all at max quality, permanently owned by me and under my complete control. And the coolest part is, again, this is all running on an old laptop that was collecting dust. This bad boy and its little drive bay can sit in my spare closet plugged up and providing me infinite streaming for years and years to come. In total, I counted it up and found I spent just under 35 minutes of actual active effort setting this all up. If you really want to get technical with it, I spent longer than that gathering the files, but that is passive time with no input from me. If you want to count pressing a button, then the file being there 30 minutes later as an active thing, then you must consider making a Herculean effort. In any case, less than an hour of my time, minimal use of my debit card has granted me access to freedom. And that's pretty cool. This whole remote access fee is a bit of a bummer, I won't lie. And if that's a hard line for you, you could do any of this with something like Jellyfin, and it's free. But even if we add up nabbing that optional lifetime pass, the optional drive bay, and the hard drives, we're talking barely $200 for 10 plus years of Plex land. That's less than $2 a month. Even less if your hard drives don't die at the 10-year mark. I don't know about you, but having zero chance of my favorite shows suddenly disappearing from streaming and getting superior quality and audio is easily worth that small investment for me. So for the foreseeable future, this laptop is my new Netflix, and I mean it. Hold me to it. I guarantee you in future videos, if there's ever footage of this storage closet, you'll be able to see this laptop sitting in the corner, plugged in, and providing me entertainment from anywhere I choose. It's that effective, even on this old machine. And if this wasn't tutorial-y enough for you, we even made a proper tutorial that you can check out in this members only video right here. So what are you waiting for? Get to it and let me know how it goes. Peace. And watch some movies.